She was interested yesterday. Today, she is silent. And suddenly your mind starts running in circles, trying to decode every word, every delay, every tiny shift in tone. That is the trap many men fall into. They think women are a puzzle to be solved, when in reality they are often reacting to signals most men never learn to read. And that is why so many men stay stuck. They give more, explain more, chase harder, and still end up confused. They keep asking the wrong question. Not, why is she acting like this? But, what is she responding to that I am missing? Look at the anxiety pulsing in your chest because she hasn't texted back. That feeling is not just about one message. It is about what men are rarely taught. Attraction is not built on neediness, performance, or endless approval seeking. It is shaped by boundaries, tension, confidence, and the way a man carries himself when he is not being watched. In this video, I am going to break down the things many men get wrong about women, including the gap between what men assume women want and what women often value in real life, the hidden side of attraction, and the nice guy paradox that keeps good men getting overlooked. And to make this even sharper, I will anchor parts of this discussion in the hard-edged reality Niccolò Machiavelli understood well. Human behavior is not ruled by words alone, but by power, perception, and position. By the end, you will stop guessing and start seeing the pattern. And if you are tired of shallow advice that leaves you more confused than before, subscribe now. This is for men who want truth, not comfort. A lot of men grow up believing women want a perfect man, the most respectful man, the most generous man, the one who never argues, never pushes back, never makes mistakes, and never lets a woman feel uncomfortable. That sounds noble. It also creates massive confusion, because in real life, women do not respond to words alone. They respond to how a man makes them feel, what kind of pressure he brings into the interaction, and whether he has a life of his own outside of trying to win her approval. Think about it. A man can say all the right things, send long messages, buy gifts, and still make a woman feel nothing. Another man can say less, but carry himself with calm confidence, and suddenly he has her attention. That is where many men get lost. They assume the difference is money, looks, or luck. Sometimes it is, but often it is something simpler. One man is trying to be chosen, while the other man already knows his own value. That is the gap. Men often think women want endless effort. In reality, effort only matters when it is backed by direction, strength, and emotional steadiness. A woman may appreciate kindness, but kindness alone is not attraction. She may like good manners, but manners alone do not create desire. She may want stability, but stability without presence becomes dull. The mistake is confusing basic decency with what actually builds romantic interest. This is where the lesson gets sharper. Niccolò Machiavelli understood that people do not move only by what they say they want. They are influenced by power, perception, and position. In simple terms, people respond to what feels valuable, not what feels desperate. That principle shows up in dating too. When a man over-explains himself, over-offers himself, and over-chases, he often lowers his own position without realizing it. So the real question is not, what do women say they want? The better question is, what do women consistently respond to when words and behavior do not match? Stay with me because the next chapter goes straight into the nice guy paradox. And this is where a lot of men finally see why being too nice can quietly destroy attraction. Before you move on, pause and ask yourself one honest question. Have you been trying to be liked or trying to be respected? A lot of men hear the phrase, nice guy, and assume it automatically means good man. It does not. Being kind is not the problem. Being decent is not the problem. The problem begins when a man becomes so eager to be liked that he starts hiding his own needs, swallowing his boundaries, and turning every interaction into a quiet audition for approval. That kind of niceness does not feel strong. It feels anxious. Picture a man who replies instantly to every message, agrees with everything she says, never disagrees, never challenges anything, and keeps offering more attention even when she is giving less in return. On the surface, he looks respectful, but underneath, he is often communicating something else. Please do not reject me. And that pressure changes everything. Many women can sense when a man is being nice because he genuinely cares, and when he is being nice because he wants something back. The second version creates tension. It makes the interaction feel heavy, calculated, and slightly dishonest, even if the man does not mean it that way. That is why some men say, "I was so nice to her, but she treated me badly." What they are really saying is, "I gave without self-respect, and she felt that imbalance." This is the nice guy paradox. Too much niceness, when it is mixed with fear, can lower attraction because it removes polarity. It removes tension. It removes the sense that you are a full person with your own standards, not just a man trying to be chosen. Machiavelli understood something similar about human nature. People respond to strength, clarity, and position, not cruelty, not manipulation, but the quiet power that comes from knowing who you are and not begging to be treated well. A man who has no boundaries often teaches people how little he values himself. And once that happens, others usually follow his lead. So the lesson is simple. Be kind, but do not become soft. Be generous, but do not become available to everyone. Be respectful, but do not erase yourself. Because a woman is not moved by a man who performs goodness like a request for approval. She is moved by a man whose kindness comes from strength, not weakness. And in the next chapter, we will go deeper into why effort alone does not create attraction, and why some men keep doing more while getting less. A lot of men think attraction grows simply because they try harder. More texts, more calls, more compliments, more gifts, more chasing. But in real life, effort alone does not create attraction. In some cases, too much effort actually kills it. Picture this. A man starts talking to a woman he really likes at first. He is calm. He has his own plans, his own rhythm, his own life. She feels curious. Then he gets too invested. He becomes always available, always checking in, always ready to reply, always trying to prove how much he cares. Slowly, the energy changes. What once felt interesting now feels heavy. That is because attraction is not only about what you do, it is also about how your behavior is framed. A simple message can feel attractive from a man who has standards and a full life. The exact same message can feel draining from a man who is clearly waiting for approval. The words may look the same, but the energy is not the same. This is where many men get confused. They believe women are rejecting them for no reason, when in reality the problem is often the way they are presenting themselves. Over-pursuing removes tension. Over-explaining removes mystery. Over-availability removes value. And once a woman feels there is no space, no challenge, and no sense of self behind the attention, the attraction often weakens. Machiavelli understood a version of this long ago. People tend to value what feels earned, not what feels endlessly given away. In simple terms, when something is always available, it stops feeling precious. That is true in life, and it is often true in dating too. So the lesson here is not to become cold or manipulative. It is to stop acting like your worth rises every time you overdo your effort. A man with direction, boundaries, and emotional control often feels more attractive than a man who tries to win affection through constant sacrifice. Pause here and ask yourself something honest. Are you building attraction, or are you just trying not to lose her? That question matters more than most men realize. And stay with me, because the next part goes into the hidden signals. Women notice that many men completely ignore. A lot of men think women are listening to the words first. They are not. Most of the time, women are watching the pattern. A man can say, "I like you." But if his actions are inconsistent, his words lose value. He can say, "I am serious." But if he disappears for days, that sentence means nothing. He can say, "I respect you," But if his tone is needy, impatient, or easily shaken, the body language tells a different story. This is where many men get exposed. Imagine a woman meeting two men. The first one talks beautifully. He knows all the right phrases. He compliments her, keeps saying what she wants to hear, and sounds perfect on paper. But every time she takes a little longer to reply, he gets restless. Every time she sets a boundary, he tries to push it. Every time she seems uncertain, he tries to force clarity. The second man says less. He is calm. He does not overtalk. He does not flood her with messages. He has a steady rhythm, a clear sense of self, and he does not collapse when there is a little silence. Which one feels safer? Which one feels stronger? Which one feels more worth trusting? That is why women often notice more than men realize. They notice whether you are consistent. They notice whether your attention feels steady or desperate. They notice whether you can handle discomfort without becoming emotional chaos. They notice if your confidence is real or just loud. This is not about being perfect. It is about being predictable in the right way. A woman does not need a man who never makes mistakes. She needs a man whose behavior does not keep confusing her. Machiavelli understood something very similar. People judge by appearance first, but they believe what is repeated in action. In other words, you cannot talk your way into value forever. At some point, your behavior becomes the truth people respond to. So if you are wondering why your words are not landing, check the signals beneath them. Are you calm, consistent, and self-controlled? Or are you sending hidden messages of anxiety, pressure, and need? That is the real test. Take a second right now and think of one relationship or situation where your words said one thing, but your behavior said another. That is often where attraction starts to change. And in the next chapter, we are going into boundaries, testing, and why women often screen men far more carefully than most men realize. Many men call it games when a woman pulls back, becomes less available, or seems to test how a man reacts. But very often, what is happening is much simpler. She is checking for steadiness. A lot of men do not realize that early attraction is not only about chemistry, it is also about safety, patience, and whether the man in front of her can handle uncertainty without becoming needy, angry, or entitled. That is why some women ask small questions, delay replies, change plans, or create little moments of distance. They are not always trying to be difficult. Sometimes they are watching to see what kind of man shows up when things are not smooth. Think about a man who meets a woman he likes. She does not respond immediately. He panics. He sends another message, then another. He starts overthinking. He acts like her silence is an emergency. What does that communicate? Not confidence, not calm, not control. Now compare that with a man who stays composed. He does not chase every reaction. He does not take every delay personally. He respects himself enough to remain steady. That does not mean he is cold. It means he is not easy to throw off balance. That is where boundaries matter. A woman often feels more secure around a man who can say no, who has standards, who does not bend himself into whatever shape will please her. Men often think being endlessly available makes them more appealing. In reality, it can make them easier to dismiss. Boundaries show that a man is not desperate for approval. They show he has a spine. Niccolò Machiavelli understood that people pay attention to power, not just intention. In simple terms, when someone sees that you cannot be easily manipulated, your position changes. You become harder to misuse. In dating, that matters more than most men want to admit. So the lesson is not to become suspicious of every woman. It is to stop mistaking uncertainty for insult and screening for cruelty. Women are often watching how you behave when you are not being rewarded immediately. That is the real test. Pause here and ask yourself one question. When pressure shows up, do you become more grounded or do you start folding? In the final chapter, we bring all of this together into the bigger lesson most men miss completely. So let us bring it all together. Many men get confused about women because they assume attraction works like a checklist. Be nice, be respectful, Be available. Say the right thing. Do the right thing, then expect the right result. But human behavior does not work that cleanly. Women do not respond only to words. They respond to patterns, pressure, energy, boundaries, and emotional steadiness. That is why one man can do everything right and still feel invisible, while another man with calm, direction, and self-respect naturally draws attention. The real mistake is not that men care too much. It is that they often care in a way that reveals fear. They over-explain, they over-pursue, they over-give. They try to earn attraction instead of allowing it to grow, and that is where the nice guy paradox appears. Being kind is good. Being weak while trying to look kind is not. A man who has no boundaries teaches people how little he values himself. A man who stands firmly, speaks clearly, and remains calm under pressure often commands more respect, without saying much at all. That is also why women notice behavior more than speeches. They notice consistency. They notice whether you are grounded or unstable. They notice whether you are trying to impress them, or whether you are simply a man living with purpose. Niccolò Machiavelli understood something many men still ignore. People are moved by power, perception, and position, not just by intention. In dating, that means how you carry yourself often matters more than how badly you want to be understood. So the lesson is simple. Stop trying to control women. Stop trying to perform for them. Start becoming the kind of man whose presence is clear, calm, and worth respecting. If this video helped you see things differently, like the video and subscribe now. This channel is for men who want truth, awareness, and a sharper understanding of human nature.